You are listening to the Chits and Giggles podcast.
Hello and welcome to another Chits and Giggles podcast. I'm Russell and I'm joined by Ben and Dave today.
Hello.
Hello, guys.
The gang is back.
Ah, this is nice. This is our first chat of 2017. I'm excited.
So we have a great chit and a giggle. So this week's chit is all about recipe for success. It's all about what makes a good game. What kind of things about a game before you've even played a game make it good. And then we've got a giggle, which I will be hosting, but I'm not going to reveal what it is. But it is a game we've played before, so shouldn't be too much of a surprise for you guys.
Spoiling it.
And it's going to be a Ben versus Dave rivalry showdown. Ben versus Dave showdown.
Don't think I've ever won a Ben versus Dave showdown.
Well, Ben's just pretty good. Not as good as me, but pretty good. So
Ben's pretty sleepy.
This could be your year, Dave. Yeah. This could be your year.
I'm hoping so.
You never know. Never know. So let's crack on with the chit. So, like I was saying, a recipe for success. Now, what I mean by this is sometimes there'll be a game announced or talked about, and it's not even released yet, so people haven't played it. But something about it or a few things about it make you think, oh, this is a game I'm looking forward to. And I like to call that the recipe for success. There are bits about that game, whether it's the designer, whether it's the mechanics behind it. Is it an exciting theme? Has it come from a really good company that always produces good games? And it's all these little ingredients that sort of come together to make what could be and almost always will be a really good game. And that's what I wanted to talk about today. So, I mean, for you guys, is there anything that, like, for example, a designer of a game that you're like, oh yeah, I know that's going to be a good game?
Well, there's a designer I always love, which is Vlada. He's my go-to guy. Just because he's done such a range of games as well. And most of them, I haven't played all of them, but most of the ones I've played have been a right giggle. So, go on.
That is true. He is good. No, I was just going to say, the one thing about Vlada, he does, like, everything he touches seems to turn, to gold, which is great. But like sometimes his games are a bit weird, like Dungeon Lords. Is that him or is it Dungeon Pets?
I think they're both him.
Definitely Dungeon Pets.
They're both him.
They may be both him.
Yeah. My God, like that artwork is so hideous that I did not want to play that until
I don't mind it so much.
I you know me though, I'm really weird about how games look, and they should always, look good. But for me, those games they like don't appeal to me at all. So it's funny you say that, because that immediately is enough to turn me off those kind of games. Ooh. And I have looked into Dungeon Pets, and yeah, it's a nice worker place bidding-esque kind of game. But I would just, if I didn't know it was Vlada, I wouldn't have played it.
It's interesting because based on, because I was thinking about this, and for me, it would be similar to going to a restaurant, I guess, in the sense of recipe for success. Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily the ingredients that are in the thing that make me want it, but there are definitely some ingredients that are in it that will make me definitely not want it. In the same way that you might go like, oh yeah, I love pizza, but then if they've thrown anchovies on, I'm not even going to touch it. And in the same way you're saying that Dungeon Pets is ugly, definitely the look and how good looking a game is will affect whether or not I want to play it. And a good example of this was Terraforming Mars at Essen this year. There was so much buzz about it. It was from a great company that had a great load of games. Everyone was talking about it. But I looked at it and I just thought it was so ugly, I didn't want to have anything to do with it. And it wasn't until later on a friend of mine had the game and I played it and I was like, oh, this game's fantastic. And now I own it because it was so good. But in terms of, it was one of those items that there was something so unappealing to it because of how it looked that it made me completely avoid the game because I thought it wasn't going to be very good just based on the aesthetics. Interesting, because you did mention that in the chit chat, and actually that's quite interesting because I never thought about it that way. But there's other things that I avoid as well. For instance, if a game's cooperative, then I'm going to avoid it because I'm not a big fan of cooperative games because I don't like alpha playering, and there's certain mechanics as well that I would just avoid. And I'll be like, someone will be like, oh, this is a great game, it's co-op, or it's a hidden movement game, and I'm just going to instantly be like, I've only ever played one hidden movement game where someone hasn't made a mistake and stuffed the game up. And so I just always avoid it, because you play a game and then someone realizes halfway through the game, actually no, they made a mistake, and you're like, well, we can't really go back, and now we know it's all ruined.
There should be something you can do to sort of avoid that problem, whether it's just like literally briefly play through a game. Just
Fury of Dracula does it quite well, and they've even got something in the rules so that if you do make a mistake, it factors that in.
Really?
And because there's no writing down, you've got cards that you play for where you are, and they shift along, so you can work out if people make a mistake. But if they do, it's not the end of the world. And also they've factored in like a punishment for that in the game. But like I was playing that game, the Aliens one, where it's really just simple black and white, and it's got the hexes, and then there's a couple of aliens and people
from the aliens in outer space.
That's the one. And we were playing it, and the humans, we kind of realised, one of the aliens, we were like, we think you're here, but just so you know, if you are here, then you must have made a mistake, because it's physically impossible for you to be in this location. And they're like, yeah, it's fine. And then a few turns later, they're like, yeah, I win. And we're like, how? And they're like, because I was here, then here, then here. I'm like, no, but we told you, if you were here, you must have made a mistake, because you couldn't have been there. And they're like, and then it turns out they had started at the human location instead of the alien location. And so it was instantly just
stupid,
kind of,
aren't they?
just ruined the game.
Don't play games with stupid people, then.
Well, I try, but I mean, you guys are the only people I know.
Well, you know what? That is a good point. But unfortunately, like, I think this is one of the annoying things about that. I mean, they're quite popular though, hidden movement games, especially when Fury of Dracula came out. It seemed like there was a lot of demand for it. So I think you're on your own with the hatred of that kind of game, Ben. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I know, but everybody dislikes their own mechanics. Some people hate player conflict. It's like, for instance, Rado, one of the things that he doesn't review is games with high player conflict. And I quite like player conflict. So there's always going to be some things that turn you off and not others. But it's just interesting because, when I look for a game that I love, because I love games generally, I guess I tend to look at factors that I don't like and then avoid those games, as opposed to looking for the games with the factors I do like. But I do think now, because more and more games are being released each year, like for instance this last year there were games that got released that I didn't play because there's now so many good ones. You do have to start picking and choosing. You can't you used to be able to just play everything that was released, and now there's too many. You can't do that. You have to now pick and choose and go like, I think these are the good ones. And that's when you start going through designers that you like, mechanics that you like, publishers that you like, and trying to work out, out of all of the games that are being released this year, which ones am I going to spend my time on?
I was just thinking, that made me think, because of the whole recipe idea and whatever, I was thinking there should be like a Michelin star guide for games, and now you like, that's it, now you can only have one or higher Michelin star games from now on.
You also have people like Ben who are co-op intolerant and ruin everything else.
So going back to sort of like, things that I really like, one of the things I've realised I really like in games, and this isn't something necessarily you can work out before the game is released, because you have to know a bit about how the game works, but one thing I really like in games is when it ties really closely with what it's trying to emulate in real life. For example, the Pursuit of Happiness game, I recently reviewed that on the website, and one thing I realised that I really loved about it is how it tied into real life. For example, in the game you have a limited resource of time for each stage of your life, which makes sense because in each stage of your life you only have limited time, and you can spend that how you wish, pursuing activities which will gain you knowledge or creativity or that kind of stuff. But then if you take on a job, it will reward you with some limited resources in terms of like knowledge or whatever, but it also is the main way of gaining money, but you have to sacrifice amount of time each stage of your life to do that, and that makes sense. However, there's nothing to stop you from giving up that job and pursuing, other interests, or just dedicating full time to taking on a partner and just like fun hobby kind of things. And I really like that, and I do like games that try to bring in a realistic approach which works from a game perspective into the game. I don't know, I like that, and I think The Pursuit of Happiness is the best example of that I can think of. And something like... Sorry?
It sounds so depressingly realistic, in the sense that you just have to realise that, look how much of my life I am throwing away right now not being happy. That's just what that...
Is there a
so
play
depressing.
board games option where you can just lose months?
Yeah, I
you
mean,
lose all your money.
One
and
of
you
the
lose all your
activities
money.
is actually
to
to either design a board game, which you do have to sacrifice time to do it, or even a board game collection. In fact, there's like a nice little Easter egg because it's made by Artipia Games, who made Dice City, and on the card for the board game collection, Dice City is one of the games, which is pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah, but I don't know. That's the kind of thing I like. And obviously, going back to the board game knockout that we did recently, another thing that I really like, which I'm sure you guys will agree to some extent, is any game that involves worker placement. I'm immediately going to be like, what's this about?
I feel like we're starting to get to saturation point, though,
With worker placement?
Well, there's always room for more, I know, but just when you've played quite a few, you start to feel like you're playing the same game again. And I found that with Great Western Trail. I felt like I played it before, and that's not to say that Great Western Trail is a bad game, or I think it's a fantastic game, but I did feel like I'd sort of done it already. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
do you ever have games where that happens to you?
I guess so, but just because I know Ben is going to agree with me on this point, though, but it felt like the thing about Great Western Trail is, yes, it was a worker placement to some extent, but it was like a microcosm of different game mechanics all merged into one, and that's, I think, what made it interesting to me, because, yeah, the worker placement element was there, but it was just a small part of the whole game, and you had to, like, manage all of these different systems together.
Plus, I would say that it's lightly influenced on worker placement, but it's not very pure worker placement in Great Western Trail, because you're not limiting other people from going to actions, and you can't just choose any action. That's interesting.
Yeah, I only use that as an example of what I mean, in the sense of other games kind of doing things that have already been done before. I mean, Great Western Trail isn't doing anything new, but it is doing what it does very well.
But it's like, I find that with the miniature games. So I played Doom the other day. That's exactly the same as Descent or and Imperial Assault. It's just another one versus many team-based like assault game, and with dice rolling. And they tweak a couple of mechanics or a couple of how the dice resolve. And for all intents and purposes, the games are the same. And yet, because they're miniatures, I think that's the appeal for them. And that's like a recipe for success, I guess. If you chuck miniatures in a game, this thing will do really well, especially on Kickstarter. Miniature games on Kickstarter, they just go off. And Cool Mini or Not is a really good example of that. A whole company is formed out of games which, I mean, some of them are okay. I guess Zombicide and stuff, they're quite good, but they're not massively complicated, or they're not breaking any new ground. They're just high quality, good miniatures and themes that are engaging, and they're doing quite well. So that, I think, yeah, because with Recipe for Success, you have certain things that are kind of board game fads, and they'll come in and out.
To go back to the food analogy of that, I guess it's just trying a different dish every now and again. If you're just having spaghetti bolognese, no matter if it's... Well, in that sort of sense, I suppose having miniatures and stuff is just having a very high-quality bolognese. But if I'm just talking the basics here, Tesco's own brand, it's still spaghetti bolognese, isn't it? It's just how it's packaged and delivered. So, I don't know, it's trying to find new things. So I guess there is no real be-all and end-all. I mean, people have a favourite meal.
Yeah, I mean, like,
there's also...
Ways. Sorry, carry on, Ben.
In the same sense that, like, you'll have something that you'll see, and all they have to do is write that word on the menu, and everyone will just go crazy for it.
Salted caramel. I mean, I'm a baker, and that's it. It's salted caramel.
Salted
white
caramel.
chocolate.
And to me, An example from last year of salted caramel in the board game world was Uwe Rosenberg. He's the salted caramel in the dish that is Cottage Garden. People went crazy for that game. The thing is, I actually don't think it's that good a game. It's the same mechanic he used in Patchwork and in Feast for Odin, and Patchwork is genius. Feast for Odin is like a really complex, advanced inception of that mechanic. And then it's almost like he came up with Cottage Garden because he wanted to do Patchwork for 4 players. None of the big publishers want to pick it up because it just wasn't that good. And so a tiny little publisher picked it up, knowing that because it has salted caramel in it, people are going to buy it. And it worked. People bought it. It's everywhere. But when I played it, I was just kind of like, it's just like Patchwork, except it's not fun. You're not doing as much kind of analytical thinking and trying to beat your opponents. You're really just doing things. You're just placing those tiles on the board and with cats and flower pots.
Hey.
And the theme as well was pretty weird. But yeah, it was. I think that's an example of where you throw an ingredient in and just knowing that people are going to buy it, irrespective of if the game is actually good. They're going to see salted caramel and just be like, "I love salted caramel," and just buy the game.
Do you know what, though?
I did buy into it because, well, for that reason, I think there's a kind of a seal of approval, I suppose. If you've got someone who's going to deliver usually a very good game, not that he hits every time, but most of the time he does. And
Bonanza.
then seeing that...
I'm glad you said that, because I actually don't like that game. Ugh.
Which one? Bonanza?
Ugh. I mean, they could have called it Bonanza, couldn't they?
They missed the trick.
That would have been okay then.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. I think that game works well in its own little way of being Patchwork for 4 players, and also having a theme that can appeal to a slightly different audience. Maybe I know a lot of people have been interested in playing Cottage Garden that maybe wouldn't have been interested in playing some of Uwe's other games.
Do you know what? I think it's all to do with one of the best components I've ever seen in a board game, that little wheelbarrow.
And that wheelbarrow. Sold.
That's it for me. That was the key ingredient. But I also did
read the reviews online. I did want to find out a bit more about it because, I was suspicious about why this wasn't being released properly.
That's
I
kind of
rate it as a game. I think it's fun. I don't think it's it's definitely not its best by any means, but it still does fill a gap that hadn't been filled before.
I just think if it wasn't Uwe Rosenberg, it wouldn't have seen the light of day.
Really? Wow,
Probably
that's
not.
quite harsh words.
I mean, it definitely stands up as its own game. I wouldn't be offended if I'd bought it and it wasn't Uwe Rosenberg and I'd played it and thought, that's that. But no, it's definitely staying in my collection. I have it. I like it, and it fills a gap of my light gaming crowd. I think it's a nice stepping stone to say, oh, remember that guy who made that fun Cottage Garden game with the wheelbarrow? Well, he also made Agricola. Let's play that.
Yeah. Just don't invite Ben Ray to play it.
To me, it begs an interesting question where, is it worth, if you have a game that you like and then there's a way of incorporating more players, but then it makes the game worse, is it worth playing it with more players or just playing a different game? And the one example is like the 5 and 6 player extension for Catan. It's rubbish. If you like Catan and then you add the 5 and 6 player extension, and now everyone can buy after every turn, and it changes the game, and in my opinion, you might as well just play a different 5 and 6 player game.
Yep.
Do you think it's worth it making the game a little bit worse?
I think it's still Catan. I mean, I don't think playing a 5 or 6 player version of it makes it less of a game. But that's just me personally. But
to me, it makes it less fun.
Yeah, the game definitely suffers for having the more players.
Yeah. So is it worth doing that? Is it worth having less fun to incorporate more people? Or should you just go and play a game which is actually very good?
Well, I'm of the opinion that you should always play, high quality games in the first place. I mean, if you are saying, 5 to 6 player Catan is rubbish, then you just wouldn't play it. I mean, if it was a good game, yes, play it. If it wasn't a good game, then move on, find something else.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree, but I think a lot of people don't. They would be like, they want to add these extra players to the detriment of. Do you know what? Then the game is.
Then they're probably fine playing that. If they really want to play Catan, and the only option is they have 5 of them, 6 of them, and they want to play it. It's good that they have that option, and obviously they really want to play Catan.
If you're still playing Catan, then you're probably in that.
I don't know. I don't want to be like snobby, because I do still find entertainment in playing games like Catan, because there is a reason there. Well, I say that, but I hate Jenga so much, and it's probably the biggest selling game ever. But I still find enjoyment in those traditional games, like Catan and Carcassonne. I think.
Oh no, for sure. But my point is that if you had 6 people split in and play 2 games of normal Catan, and then everyone's having a good time.
Whoa!
Interesting point. Well, I guess the whole point.
Have you seen Chess Clock Jenga, Russell?
Oh yeah, no. I even commented on Reddit that I dislike the game and it doesn't make me want to play it anymore.
Not even doing the chess club.
I got downvoted for that comment, so clearly I'm just...
Yeah, rightly so. What happened to you as a child that you hate Jenga so much?
I don't know, it's just
Were you playing one of those giant towers and it fell
It's just
upon
moving,
you?
it's just... It is
Dull.
literally just moving one block from another place multiple times in a row.
I think I'm going to do a review of Jenga for the website.
Have you played?
I think you should, and then
Dread?
I will comment on it.
Have you played Dread?
I haven't played Dread because I'm not so much... I haven't got time to play... I really haven't got time to play like RPGs. My time to play board games is so limited that I'd much rather play a game that I can actually have a chance of finishing. And also, I find the very mechanic of using a dexterity-based game to play an RPG, and that it's going to be an inevitable fail. And in essentially the first few times you come to like a decision, it's almost certainly not going to result in a fail. I find that a bit weird and a bit unbalanced in terms of a game.
We'll have a game of Dread, and your mind will be changed.
All right.
Sure.
Well, yeah, maybe I'm just judging it from its thingy, which brings us sort of slightly back on topic. In terms of other things that you like about a game, one other theme that I generally find myself drawn to, but often disappointed with, is like city building games. I like the idea of a city building game, or something along the lines of those games that used to come out, Theme Park, Theme Hospital, Sim City. I like that. I really love that theme, but I've yet to be like totally satisfied in playing a game. So it's like one of those. Oh, it's like the salted caramel for me. I'm like, oh yeah, I've got to try it, and then I try it often, and I'm like, no, this is not salted enough. I don't know.
Soul in that. No, I totally agree with you. I think there's definitely a good... I think it's because you've always feel like you've achieved something in those games because you built your little piece of it, and I love games that are like that. You don't feel like a loser because you've still built something,
Yeah.
So those games generally do. I always enjoy them enough, but like you said, there's not been one outstanding.
I would love them to create a proper like theme park board game, and if anybody out there is listening and knows a game that would satisfy...
How's that?
Well, I've not played that. That's the thing. That does sound like interesting, but the very name means it's probably not going to be a theme park, because theme parks are all like cheerful and fun, and
oh, that's true.
Like coming to a natural, you're building up a great theme park, but unfair. I'm like, already that sounds like something's gone wrong. I haven't even looked into it, to be honest. I should, but if anyone out there knows a game, please let us know.
Steam Park's okay.
Steam Park's good fun, but I think it's
like the
quite
bag
a light
mechanic.
game. You want to take it to the next level, I assume, Russell. You want this to be quite immersive experience.
Yeah, do you know what, even a game like, I haven't played it, but Food Chain Magnate seems like it could be quite the thing I want, because you are building up an empire, and it reminds me of a really old obscure PC game called Pizza Connection. Like, where you literally run a series of fast food joints, and like it's got mafia involved and stuff, but it was a really good game, really obscure, but essentially you create the food that you want, and then you have to sort of run several places around. I can't even remember if I'm thinking of this properly, but yeah, Pizza Connection. I literally just...
the challenge with that is because all of those games, especially the PC ones, were all very much solo games. You're playing against it and building your own theme park, whereas in a game where you're playing around a table, it's very difficult to replicate that unless, again, you're working together maybe to build something, but that's going to be less good. So, I don't know, I guess that's the toughest part about it, is to make that work as a board game. It's probably quite tricky.
Maybe that's what's needed. Maybe somebody should release like a solo game all about building up a city. I mean, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, that'd be interesting, definitely.
There you go, Ben. Work on it.
Get to it.
All right. Can I be about theme parks?
Well, I feel like we touched on a lot of subjects. Is there anything else about that, this idea of, components or whatever towards a game that makes it work, or is there anything we've missed before we move on to the Giggle?
They have theme parks in Australia, Ben. Is there any fun in Australia?
Yeah, we have theme parks. We have theme
avoid
parks
the
that kill
spider,
people.
avoid the snakes. They're a theme park in themselves.
Yes, true.
Every
It's
day's
just-
a part of the game in Australia.
Yeah, every day you fear for your life, and that makes it exciting, and that's essentially what theme parks are trying to do, give you the illusion of being in danger. But in Australia, you're always in danger.
You don't need theme parks for that.
There's no escape.
Yeah.
So
All right.
I completely, avoided the point of that wrap up. And,
So just
No, I
to,
feel
to,
like-
to,
I
to
feel like
finish up,
Go on.
if you were to describe the recipe of a game that would make you very excited, David and Russell, what would it be? Describe the recipe. Like you were a waiter and you've come to my table and you're describing the specials.
Please
and you're
do it in a
describing
French
one that
accent,
you
Russell,
yourself would eat.
right.
do we have to do it in a French accent?
No, just however you
I
like.
can if I can't do it. I can't.
What?
This is the game. No, I don't know. I think it veers into German. I should probably stop it after that awful cowboy accent
Hey,
I did.
Germans
on a
can
What
be
previous-
happened with
waiters
the
too,
cowboy
you know.
accent?
Do you remember that really awful Texan accent I did on a
It's
podcast
true,
before? I probably
remember
should never attempt one ever again. Well, actually,
started
that's
one.
quite a good question. I would say, and I've kind of already gone over some of these already, but I would say a 2 to 4 player game made by, for example, Portal Games, which involves city building, and also worker placement / push your luck. Designed by, I don't know. I don't have any specific designer that would, really wow me over this, but any good designer that could create that game, and I would be like, right, I'm pre-ordering this. I never pre-order games, but I would for that.
Yeah.
That sounds
I think
good.
for me,
I'd play it.
I think for me, if there was a game, yeah, again, it was 2 to 4 players, non-cooperative, 1 hour to 2 hours in length. It was from a European publisher, something like Czech Games Edition or Portal Games or something like that, or at least a European designer, and it had a heavy engine building component, whether that's through deck building or something else, but yeah, this real development so that you're kind of snowballing throughout the game, and that there would need to be player interaction, but not to a point where you can kind of pick on other players and remove them from the game or king make.
Mm-hmm. That sounds like a pretty good game, and it's just reminded me of one extra ingredient for my game, which is that it has to have a look similar to Imperial Settlers.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, it's funny because some people I've
Aesthetically pleasing.
spoken to don't like Imperial Settlers because of its look.
Ugh.
But to me, again, I love the way it looks. That's what drew me to it. But some people are like,
You don't-
oh yeah, but it looks too like happy and friendly on the
You
front.
don't need people like that in your life, Ben. Get rid of them. Cut them out.
Kind of.
All right, Dave. Sorry, mate. See you later.
Hey, I like it. I'm a fan of the artwork in Imperial Settlers. I'm just not a fan of the game.
What about your perfect game, Dave?
Oh yeah, that thing. I would like it served by a head chef, Vlada. I never know how to say his surname. I think it's going to be for 2 to 4 people. I think that's the sweet spot.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely a big dollop of strategy on there. A little sprinkle of fun. I do like some fun in my games.
But only a little sprinkle.
Just a sprinkle of
Not
fun.
like a bucket load. Just a
Well,
sprinkle.
you know,
Do
we're
you want
gonna-
more
I find-
fun in this game? No. We've had
Just a
enough.
sprinkle. Come on.
Yeah, I'm full of
Come
fun
on now.
for this evening.
Say when. Say when. Stop.
When?
Too much already.
Well, I think if you go too fun, then it sort of takes away from the strategy side of things. Do you know what I mean?
No,
You know what
but
I-
carry on.
So
I
far,
love
you're
this.
just
It's a flavour contrast.
So far, you're
yeah.
just describing code names. So carry on.
There's a lot of fun to be having code names.
Well, I know.
I'm
Too
gonna
much
have-
for you, apparently.
Too much for me. I'm going to have a side helping of theme, because I'm all about that.
Oh yeah,
Usually-
Codenames falls over there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I suppose. Well, it's kind of the spies. That's sort of a theme, isn't it? I don't know. All of those things sound good. I'm trying to think what I don't like on my recipe.
It would just
Hold
be interesting
the-
because we can
hold the
listen to
fun.
these recipes, and then when we do our podcast later this year about games that we're excited for this Essen, we can see how well they fit the recipe that we gave at the start of the year.
Yeah, that's true.
See, I've been quite safe with my recipe. I'm not going for any
I
Very
like
vague.
a game which isn't crap, please.
That's it.
One game.
Any
holds
recommendations?
the crap.
What's the special today? I mean, I'll just take it.
Well, I'm
It's
sorry,
fine.
I can't recommend Cottage Garden. Sorry.
Oh, no, I missed out.
I do have Jenga.
Oh, I'll take it.
It's a bargain.
I've heard great things about it.
Well, I think that was pretty interesting. I hope everybody listening enjoyed our chat, and if you have any of your own recipes,
I'm ready for
share.
dessert now, Russell.
Yeah, good segue. I like a good segue. Which brings us on to this week's Giggle. Now, it's a game we've played before, and you are pretty good at it, Ben. But Dave, I really need you to up your game,
Gosh,
as we are about to take part in a round of Was This Review Helpful?
Yes, I love this game.
God.
Right.
Hey, did you notice something, Russell? Just really quickly.
What?
At the the beginning of this year, on Channel 4, they did the big fat quiz of everything.
Yeah.
Did you watch it?
I did watch some of it, actually, yeah.
Was Russell on
They
it?
did. They played Was This Review Helpful?
Did they?
What?
I didn't
They
watch
did,
that
but with
bit.
films. They read out
Ah.
Amazon reviews of films, and you had to guess what film it was.
So clearly, Channel 4 producers are listening to this
Listen
podcast.
to this.
In
They
which
must-
case,
yeah.
Channel 4, we need a board game TV show.
Thank you.
Make it happen.
That's
ASAP.
not. That's
Give us a
not
shout.
tabletop, please. Just don't put Will
yeah.
Wheaton in it.
Oh, actually, that's probably going to be the most likely scenario if they create a TV show, isn't it?
Yeah.
No.
Right. Well, moving on from that. This was
David
this review
Mitchell,
helpful?
he could present it.
Oh yeah,
I
David
would watch
Mitchell.
that.
I reckon he's into board games.
I
reckon he loves a bit of a
guy off
Dracula.
Pointless. He's very into board games, supposedly.
Oh yeah.
Richard Osman.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ah,
There you go.
cool.
I'd
Look
watch
at
a
him
show
in.
about
He'd be
board
quite
games
good,
by
wouldn't he?
him.
Yeah.
And lol.
And he looks kind of like you, David.
And
So
also
I could be
quite
on it.
funny
Me
that
and
the
him
show
could
is
be on
called
it.
Pointless.
Pretend to be brothers.
I'm sure there's a board game to be. There is actually a board game of
There
Pointless
is a board
as
game
well.
of Pointless.
Yeah, it's rubbish. I've got it.
Okay. Anyway, so was this review helpful? Now I have 3 games, so it is going to be a best of 3. But the way I figured this is going to be structured is I will read out 3 small sections of reviews of games that have been released in the last 2 years. So you have a vague idea, and whoever shouts out the correct answer first is the winner, essentially.
Okay, I
All
like
right?
this.
Oh, no.
I like this.
So,
Terraforming Mars.
can you imagine if that was the right answer? Would I accept
No,
that?
I know it's not, because I was thinking of doing. Was this review helpful? And there's no reviews yet on Terraforming Mars.
Oh, interesting. So
sneaky.
you've kind of got
He's
a head
done some
start.
research into this.
Yeah,
This is ridiculous.
This is not good. All right, but we're going to try it
outraged.
anyway. We're going to try it
Yeah,
anyway.
go for
So
it.
let's get cracking. Are you ready, guys?
Uh-huh.
No.
Okay. All right. So this is the beginning of the first review by a guy called Strategos. That is not the
Oh,
game
I trust.
being reviewed.
I've read all of his reviews, so that's good.
All right. So,
I hope that's
so
his real name.
the review is: started playing this game with 2 friends who, like me, love a commitment in gaming and were ready to see it through to the end.
Oh,
no
I thought it
matter
was
what.
just. I started playing a game
Is
with
it
2 friends that
Pandemic
like me,
Legacy?
and I'm like,
What did you say, Dave?
Risk Legacy. Pandemic Legacy or Risk Legacy or Seafall.
He's
All of
got it.
these. There you are, look
Got
at that.
it.
Boom,
Oh.
straight in.
He's got it. Seafall. Right,
that
I'm
was
going
my
to carry
bad.
on
I
reading
wasn't
it.
listening to the review. I was just listening to the fact that he said I played this game with 2 people that
Who
liked
like
me,
me.
and I thought that was brilliant.
No, I
I
think
saw past that,
it
Benjamin.
was a what do you call it? Incorrect emphasis there, because it's started playing this game with 2 friends who, like me, love a commitment in gaming and were ready
see?
to see it through to the end, no matter what.
Well, I'm
I don't
glad you're
consider
like that,
this.
Russell.
This is quite funny because he goes on to say, I don't consider this a fun game as much as a life experience. You know, like
God.
reading some old dusty literature because you think it'll add to your arsenal of info. Eating food
That's
you don't
classic
like.
Strategos, that
And
is.
this is quite funny because it kind of ties into the what we just discussed. Eating food you don't like to broaden your horizons, etc.
There you go.
Well, I've
See,
never
Giggle
eaten-
knows.
Really, food I don't like because I eat food I don't know whether I like it or not to broaden my horizons. But
Very
I'd never eat food I
West country there.
specifically don't like just to broaden my horizons. So, well,
it's like
it was obviously a
just-
helpful review, Strategos, and Dave takes the first point in the game.
Whoa.
Smashes it out.
Well,
I'm going to shut up next time.
yeah, and
Head
sit
of the
down.
game. Head of the game.
No, we shut up or sit down. We never do both.
All right, so let's move on to the second game, and this is a very short review by Jay Caswell, and he says, "Love the miniature pieces that come with it."
Zombicide.
Incorrect. Dave, want to take a punt? No, it's too long.
No,
You're going to have
go
to
on.
just hear
Carry
another
on.
review. All right, so we'll carry on reading. Actually, you know, I'm going to add another rule to this game. If you do want to shout out your name so I know that, you know, we don't get lost. So I can then come to you for an answer. You know, like a
I'm
game
going to
show.
make it sound like a...
Oh, I
you'd
thought
like
we
just-
could just keep shouting. We
Well,
have to take
what if
turns
you?
in our
But if you
shouting?
both shout at the same time, then
I
I
was
don't
gonna
know.
say peep.
So I'm just going to go with whoever I hear first. So if you shout,
Yeah, we'll
I
fight
know-
it out amongst ourselves.
All right. So the next review by just a verified reviewer. So I don't know, no name for this. If you're really into organising board game pieces and get a kick out of punching out hundreds of cardboard tokens, you will adore this game the second you open it. Luckily, we are exactly those people, and it was like a present within a present. My fiancée spent Christmas morning carefully categorising and setting up all of the pieces in this game. We haven't even had a chance to play it yet, but it sure
Buzz.
is beautiful. Yes.
I'm going to say it's like a, I don't know, Cthulhu Pandemic or something like that.
No, but I've played that game and it's not that much to punch out. So
not?
no,
I reckon
take
it's
it back
that
then.
Mechs versus Minions game.
incorrect. We'll carry on, and it's one of the highest ranked board games on a certain board game review site. So we are really
Terraforming.
incorrect. So we are really excited to get it
Didn't
set
say
up.
Ben either.
Yeah, that's
Breaking
right.
the rules, Russell. You should get deducted a point for that.
He's on 0 points.
Ben.
Yes.
I can't remember now.
Don't say Terra Mystica. My first impressions of that extreme attention to detail went into this game, and I'm really excited about the asymmetric gameplay.
Ah.
No, nothing, because actually that's all the review I got
Ben.
for you. Yes.
Is it Twilight Struggle?
No. Remember, these are all games that came out in the last couple of years. 2 years.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
So you've already
My bad.
come up with loads that aren't, but I've let it slide for now.
Oh boy.
And it said miniatures, didn't you? That's
Yeah.
my bad. That was
so it's
the
a
first
miniatures.
review.
Yeah.
Very
So it's a
quick one.
miniatures game. It's
game.
asymmetric.
Oh,
Asymmetrical.
Blood Rage.
Was that you saying Ben?
Oh!
Yeah. My name's Blood Rage.
Ben, yes. What was the question? What was your answer? Blood Rage. I'm guessing that is incorrect. No, it's not.
Oh, God
It's
damn it.
asymmetric. It's miniatures.
Asymmetrical.
So you know what? I'll give you
Miniatures.
another clue because I want
It's not
somebody to get
memoir
it.
or something like that, is it? I mean, that's got lots of pieces in it, David.
No, it's
Memoir.
in the last 2 years.
Oh,
the
no,
last 2
that's
years.
well old.
No, it was a
isn't it?
recent game. This
it?
game
Okay,
was
I've got
even
it.
out. All right, go for it.
By gosh, I think I've got it.
What?
Is it Zombicide Black Plague?
No, Dave.
Is it that Star Wars spacey one that I can't remember the name of? Is it a Star Wars game?
Oh, is it Rebellion?
You know what?
That's the
I am
one.
going to give that
Yeah.
to Dave because I know which one he meant.
See?
Yeah.
No,
Thank
you
you.
don't.
Yeah. He got Star
Russell
Wars and
knows.
you got Rebellion.
Yeah, you
from
stole
Star
it
Wars.
from me. You can't have it like that. We'll have
Actually,
half
do you
a
know
point
what?
each,
Actually,
alright?
you know what? Just to make this more competitive game, I'm going to give it to Ben.
Well, I'm logging off then.
lol.
See you all later. Happy New Year.
So you're going into it, depending on how you look at it, as a
Some
1-all
sort of
or a win
BS.
for Dave,
Oh,
and
yes,
Ben's
yes.
just
Oh,
playing
yeah,
for
that's
pride.
all right.
I'm
All right, well, we've got one more, so hopefully this
I'm
will...
just going to just say, I'm going to do a Dave. I'm going to be like, it's a Star Wars game. It's a Cthulhu game. I'm just going to yell out really massive themes that
You know what?
encompass like a ton
You
of
do
games.
that. You do that.
Annoyingly,
You get half a point.
I actually do feel like Dave did know it, but he didn't get it. But you did actually come up with the right answer, Ben. So I actually am going to give that to you, Ben. So don't worry.
Oh, yeah,
Anyway,
it's fine.
so going
Don't worry about
going into the final one. This means it's all to play for. There's a few bits and pieces in this review, so there's quite a lot for this one. Starting with Caleb Poduska's review, and he says, "I was initially a little concerned about the price, but I've been happy with the product. Really fun game, lots of cool parts. Probably won't be trying it with my younger kids anytime soon, but it's definitely worth the addition to any serious game collection."
Buzz.
Yes.
Fabled Fruit.
No. That's not expensive game.
That's very expensive.
No, it's not. It's pretty good
It's like
value, I thought.
£55. It's ridiculous.
Okay, you've got ripped off there, Dave. That's not the game's fault.
That's the retail price, my friend.
All right, so moving on. Ben, I'm guessing, doesn't have an answer yet. So the artwork...
All board games are expensive.
Well, now, yeah.
Well,
Welcome to the
all
new
right.
world.
That's a whole nother topic, I'm afraid. So the artwork and quality is a step up that, along with the solid game mechanics, makes for a great purchase. No, okay.
Next.
I feel like you might get this after this one. So this is Nick Barron's review. He says, it's kind of like Risk without the dice rolling, with resource management mixed in. You say Cry Havoc?
Cry Havoc, Ben.
That is incorrect.
Yeah.
That is incorrect.
Oh.
Anything, Dave?
Is it Barony?
Barony? No, it is not.
Should be.
All right. So this review carries on, and he says, there are a lot of pieces for this game, and quite a lot of things going on. So
Buzz, is it Game of Thrones, the board game?
It is not. It is not, I'm afraid. But I would have understood if you'd answered that to the previous one about really organising board game pieces and getting a kick out of punching out hundreds of cardboard tokens, because that is Game of Thrones in a nutshell. Let's carry on. So there are a lot of pieces for this game and quite a lot of things going on, so it takes a while to explain it the first time. But the concepts and game mechanics are very easy to grasp. After one explanation, everyone was good to go. No?
So every game ever. Alright, this last bit, still by the same guy. There is quite a lot of randomization involved with setting the game up, so there is so much replayability. Can't wait to find another free night with my friends to play another round of this. If you enjoy Risk and Catan, I'd highly recommend this game. Remember, recent games that involve...
Ben Scythe.
He's got it. So Ben takes it, unless you think that answer was legitimate.
That's life,
I think we need a tiebreaker round, Russell.
I don't have a tiebreaker round.
Well, go find one.
All right, give me a second. All right, so after a much heated, debate about whether that second answer was correct, we've decided to go to a tiebreaker. And so I've come up with another recent game. Okay, are you guys ready?
Yeah.
All right. So I've played many of the other versions and bought this untried. We really like this version of the game. That said,
Buzz, is it Pandemic Cthulhu?
It is not. It is not Pandemic Cthulhu. Sorry.
Buzz, is it Ticket to Ride UK?
It is not Ticket to Ride UK.
Buzz, is it Ticket to Ride Rails and Sales?
It is. In fact, Ticket to Ride Rails and Sales. That was a bit of a shot in the dark, to be honest. Like, nothing I said there made...
I was going to wait.
I played all the other ones of these games, so I was like, well, it's obviously a rehash of...
So I was going to wait until you gave us a nice proper clue, but Dave was yelling things out, and I thought it was only a matter of time before he yelled out Rails and Sales.
So that indicates that you knew it was Rails and Sales the whole time.
I had an inkling, but I was going to wait until you actually gave a clue, which led me to believe it was the answer.
Interesting.
Because it's not the game. Otherwise, I'm just yelling out board games, and we could just be yelling out games that were released this year, irrespective of the clues.
You should be locked out. We should turn this into like an actual game show. Like buzzers, and then you can get frozen out.
Talk to Channel 4.
Yeah, this is it. This is what needs to happen.
Well, they've taken this thing, so we might as well give them the rest of it.
Yeah,
we want royalties, damn it, Channel 4. All right, well, that's it. Well done, Ben. You have, defeated Dave once again.
I still feel like we worked together on that one as well.
Well, I hope everyone has enjoyed listening to this. We'll be hopefully back onto a normal sort of monthly schedule for podcasts soon. From this point on, and so if you do have any comments, questions, suggestions, all that kind of stuff, or you want to chip in with your own thoughts on today's podcast, please do comment, subscribe, like, share, retweet, and we'll see you on the next podcast.
Bye.
See you later.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Chits and Giggles podcast. For more reviews and podcasts, visit thechitsandgiggles.com.